How you doing? Welcome to the channel. Tonight I'm going to be talking about Far Cry 6 and my first impressions. I really like this game for what it is. There's a couple of things. I took some notes here, but I've only put in probably about 4 or 5 hours, and what I've played so far, I'm not like, I don't want to bash the game because I'm a big fan of Ubisoft, and I've been a fan of theirs for a long time. They've made some really great games that I've played. I've played a lot of Assassin's Creed. I think I've played every single game, and I've beat most of them outside of the Vita releases. And I've sunk hundreds of hours into Division 1 and Division 2. And Watch Dogs 1, I liked that game. Watch Dogs 2, I had a lot of fun with that, but I didn't finish it. But so, getting into this game, Ubisoft, they make a very specific type of game, and they get a lot of flack for that. And I think it's it's earned, because they do a lot of the same stuff with every game. And I see a lot of that with this game as well. But I as a fan of their games, I'm kind of the guy that they are aiming at. I'm the person that always buys the releases. I love diving into Assassin's Creed games and just getting lost in the world. Far Cry is no different. Far Cry 3, I didn't jump into Far Cry until Far Cry 3, and I dropped a lot of hours in that game. I didn't even finish it. I just had so much fun just exploring, getting into crazy shit, and I really enjoyed that game. And then the Division games, I've spent hundreds of hours on those games. Love those games. But again, I understand that they're not for everybody, and I get that they make a lot of the games. They're very similar in that they have huge maps. They have tons of objectives. The map is littered with little icons and things for you to do, and just little sort of side games or little side quests and stuff. But for the most part, I've always enjoyed the worlds. When you're looking at even like going back to like Assassin's Creed 1 and 2. I mean, especially 2, obviously that was their big hit. But I just enjoyed wandering around. They've always made games that I can get lost in. And I don't think this game is going to be any different, but I fired it up. And the thing about Far Cry, if you don't know and if you've never played them, they're a first person shooter, and they're usually set with some sort of a foreign location. It's not like they did one Far Cry 5, which was like very domestic. It was in America. It was like the one game that they've done in the Far Cry series that was in America that I know of. I'm not gonna say I never played 1 or 2, but anyways, it's very similar in that you're dropped in, and there's some sort of evil leader, cult leader, some sort of emperor or dictator who is in charge, running the show, and the people are looking to, they want to overthrow the government or overthrow, whoever's in power. And it makes for a pretty basic tune, like it's the same. Every game is kind of the same, but they're always fun. Like, I've always had a lot of fun. The gunplay is really good. The worlds that they build, the maps that they make. When I say the world building, it's more like the map. They're always really cool, but they're huge. They're massive. And for some people, that's a turn off. A lot of people, they see this big map and they're like, it's going to take too much time. And I get that. I really do. Because I know that sometimes, people don't have a lot of time to play games. And I'm kind of one of those people. I work full time, and then I game in the evenings when I can, and I game on the weekends when I can. So it's a little hard. And I don't think that I don't know if I'm going to like complete this map. I don't think I'm going to see every little thing, but I so far, like I said, I took some notes here. I like the opening scene. I thought the opening credit scene, it was really cool, and it sort of set the tone of and set up the players of the world, or the fictional world, I should say. And it's basically, you are in a fictional Cuban. It's what it looks like is like a Cuban, like esque country, because they don't say like Cuba or anything like that. So I want to make very clear that's not what it is. But these type of games, they emulate like real locations. And this one in particular has there's evil dictator, he's running the show, and the people they're trying to, they're fighting back, and the government's is like this really hardcore, basically kind of dictator communist type country. And it starts off, throws you right into the mix, and your character name is Danny. You get to choose between female or male, and it was the beginning of the game starts off where they want to show just how brutal the government is and how brutal this dictator is. And I thought it started off really cool with the credit scene. They kind of give you a nice it's like a movie opening, like those type of credit scenes, like where they show you what's going on. They set the stage while the credits are rolling, and I thought it was pretty cool. And then you get into the actual game with what the game looks like, and your character is trying to get off the island. They're trying to get away from the government, and they're looking to go to America. And right at the time that your character is going to leave with two of his friends, the lights go out, and then all of a sudden the government's there to, they're in the streets, and it's really crazy. Like they're out there gunning people down and everything. And at first I really thought it was impactful. Like I thought, oh man, it was very it was gruesome and brutal. But again, it's a video game. So it wasn't like I was, cringing or anything like that, but it really started off with like a literal bang. And then it kind of outstayed its welcome. It just kept showing these sort of like the whole opening of the game. You're slinking through the town trying to get out. That's the whole plan. And you're trying to duck and dodge. You have no weapons. You can't fight anybody yet. Your only task is like hiding, like, going and crouching down and avoiding, the eyeline of the enemies so that you can get free. That's fine. That's very typical too. They always start you off with nothing, no weapons, no knives, no anything. But it just was like this constant, like every time you're moving through the city, you see this next brutal scene of these soldiers executing civilians and citizens and stuff. And it's like, it really outstayed its welcome. I was like, okay, can we just move on? Can we get to the game? I get it. And it's brutal, government and the militaries, it's a state organization that's running everything. And I get it. So that kind of got a little old, and it wore off the effect. Cause at first I was like, whoa, they're kind of getting it's a little dark, And then it just sort of was like, they just kept drilling that into your, like, look at this scene where they're lining people up and shooting them, and this person's trying to get away, and they just shoot them in the back. It's like, okay, I get it. They're brutal. So that kind of got a little old. And then, it was cool, but the thing that got me the most was once you get past that, and then you start the game, the actual gameplay where you're going to start, you're going to meet up with your allies, and they're going to start getting you weapons and everything. It's very cookie cutter. Like that's basically how all the Far Cry games are. And you end up being the leader of some revolution. That's pretty much every story for Far Cry games. But the thing that I was really, it didn't really work well, because it started off with that sort of brutal story that was, it was impactful. They were trying to make it seem like, oh, these desperate citizens are being oppressed and everything. But then it goes, like, as soon as you take control, it kind of gets lighthearted. Like it starts getting goofy, and then you can immediately start dressing your character up and changing their clothes and stuff. And, then you go on a couple of missions, and then you run into a guy who introduces you to his pet crocodile, and it's a crocodile that actually acts like a dog. Like basically it's this big, 12-foot crocodile, and it has a jacket on, or like a jersey or something. So it kind of loses its sting, like that sort of feeling of you're leading a revolution. It's dark, it's grim, and then all of a sudden it just gets all goofy, and then it just sort of, and it really, to me, it just kind of lost its effect. And I was like, okay, this really isn't that serious. They're not taking it that serious, which, for some people is good. For some people it's bad. For me, it was like a very mixed bag of like, dark and serious, and then totally fictional goofy. But once you start getting your weapons, you start getting your guns. I was having fun. I was having some fun. I'm at that point right now that I am with every single Far Cry game that I played and every single Assassin's Creed game that I played, where I'm unfamiliar with the surroundings. I'm unfamiliar with the territory and the lay of the land, and I'm not really sure, like where to go and what's safe, and they start you off in a pretty, in a piece of the map it's secluded. It's an island, that it's a small island that's next to larger islands, or one giant island and maybe a few little ones. But the big island is where most of the game, I think, well, probably all of the game will take place of once I liberate this small little island. And I, just kind of, it takes a minute for me to kind of get into these games. And even though I love them, I do. I love these games. I always have fun. But it's kind of in that weird spot where I'm like, I'm not sure if I like this. I'm not sure. But so far, I think the gunplay is tight. I enjoy it. The weapons seem pretty cool so far. It's got that real sort of like a dystopian almost. Like the weapons they're real guns, but they use like makeshift uh, um, objects to give the weapon a suppressor, like a bottle, like a plastic bottle with something on it. And I don't know, they don't really show you, but so it's kind of cool in that regard. And like your clothes, I've gathered up a couple pieces of like gear that you can wear, and it's broken up into, it's like you have your feet, your legs, your chest, and your wrists. And I think that's it. I think those are the 4 pieces of gear that you can wear. But I've already gotten a couple of pieces, and it's very makeshift, which is kind of cool. It adds to the charm of the game and the charm of the setting and the story. The characters are they're pretty like one note. Like they're kind of annoying already, and that's not a good sign. Like it's hard because the story that these characters are trying to tell you is like they're leading a revolution, and they need you, and it's the government's terrible and all these things. And then but then they talk like, and they say like cheesy little corny lines, and they're really throwaway, and it's kind of, the dialogue is, I don't know, it's kind of juvenile. It just doesn't really fit the setting. But I think most of the Far Cry games, that's pretty much how they are. Far Cry 3, I think, was probably the best in that your main character that you played in that game was a complete fish out of water. Like you were some rich, college kid who was vacationing with his friends and then gets abducted by pirates and captured and taken to this island. And then you're forced into these, kind of horrific situations, and you're forced to gain like survival skills on the fly. And it was cool. I liked that. I appreciated that. This game, not like that at all. Your character was in the military, and they make sure that they say that. Again, the dialogue is like, it's just one of those things where it's like they tell you what you are so that and it's like, well, you didn't need to do that. There's better ways of writing and showing in video games. So I don't know. I don't want to grade too hard, because I don't think Ubisoft is known for their great story writing. The Division 1 story was, pretty useless. Like it was just a basic storyline, and it was very unforgettable. Division 2, same thing. So I don't really grade Ubisoft on their writing skills. What I do grade them on is their world building and their gameplay. And the gameplay, I will say, is solid. So far, it's solid. I like where it's going. You got a workbench, so you could do some crafting. You're collecting, materials and you're hunting animals to go to your workbench and improve your weapons and your gear. That's pretty standard. So it's kind of got that RPG light feeling. I haven't seen any like dialogue choices, so it's not like a true RPG where you get to choose your path. You're this character. This is what you're set up to do, and you're going to go do it. But they do kind of let you can roam around. You can just go off on your own and just explore, which I think that's kind of the charm of Ubisoft. Is I think they do a great job of, you can dive into the story as much as you want, or you can go off and do your own thing. Especially once the game breaks free of like this introductory area that I'm in right now. Then I can already tell, because it's just how their games are. But the graphics, I think the graphics they're good. I'm playing on a 4K TV. It's a little dated. It's like the TV's like 5 years old now, but it's a nice. It was a very nice model when I bought it. It's a Samsung KS 8000. So and it's been a great TV for me. And I think it looks good. I'm playing on a PS5, and nothing to complain about. Now there was a couple of little, I will say this, it wasn't polished. The game doesn't look that polished to me, and I'm expecting an update like in the next few days, just because I'm already noticing little things like characters sort of their legs disappear into the ground, and lighting, that were like reflections from the sun on plants and leaves and things. It flickers. It almost looks like Christmas lights. At sometimes, like I was in the middle of the game at the very beginning, and I walked by this plant and it was flickering, and I was like, "Oh, what is that? Christmas lights?" And I stopped, and I actually recorded some of it on my PS5. I was like, "What is that?" And it literally was just the light was shining on the leaves, and it's like the light was like on and off, on and off. So it's got that. And again, Ubisoft, that's pretty on par for them. It's nowhere near like a Bethesda game. Like when Bethesda games come out, and everyone knows this. If you're not a gamer and you're just a normie, and you're like me, I am a gamer though. So that, again, this is kind of a little more my arena. But if you don't know, Bethesda's games typically, when they come out, they're usually pretty rough. And they've had terrible launches where the games just doesn't work. Ubisoft's, I think, biggest, I won't say failure, but their biggest sort of like unfinished game that came out was it was Assassin's Creed. Oh man, I'm losing it now. It's based in France, and it's like during the French Revolutionary War. That game had tons of bugs, like faces not completed, and like the game was not ready to come out, and they really took some heat for that. But when they patched it and got it running, it's one of the best looking games today. Like you go back and you look at that game, and it's like running a high end PC. It's beautiful. But that's kind of Ubisoft's thing. They sometimes, I think, they rush out games. I think a lot of studios are guilty of that. But that was probably their biggest offense. But I think this game looks pretty good. I climbed up to the top of a peak and just kind of scanned the horizon, and it looked pretty cool from a distance. And that's one thing I do love about Ubisoft games, is they always give you these high vantage points that you can get up to, and then you can look down and you can see things way off in the distance. And it always captivates me, because in my mind I'm thinking, wow, this place, I can go way over there. Like at some point I'm going to be on that tower. At some point I'm going to be in that valley, or I'm going to be blowing that base up. And it gives you a really sense of scale and size. Now I like that, but I understand some people don't like it when the map's just so massive that it's just going to take you 60 hours just to see everything and do everything, especially for someone who's a completionist. That was kind of me. I'm trying to get away from that because I just don't have a lot of time. So I'm trying to just go through mainly the story. And, if I see something that's interesting and I venture off, cool, I'll check it out. Couple of drawbacks, with the map that I don't like is you are, I don't remember the name. It's called like, they just call themselves like Libertar. Yeah, it's something like it's in like Spanish or Cuban. But it's funny because the map is set up to where there's main roads that you can drive on, and you can take cars, and you can drive cars, and you can ride horses. Those are the two modes of transportation that I've seen so far. And they have the main roads, but they're just littered with the military. And so you can't drive down the road a few seconds till you see like a patrol or something, and you're gonna engage. It's sure that sounds fun, but then it's like I can't get to my objective. Like you're just constantly running into these enemies. But they also have these like little side paths, and they're kind of highlighted on the map in blue, and they run basically. They're like, it looks like and they explain it at the beginning of the game, through more dialogue, where they show you the map and they show you all these paths, and they're basically like little goat paths and game trails that you follow that the Revolution is using, and that's your best way to get around without running into the enemy. But the funny thing is literally the blue trails that are like, I guess, like the safe spots where you can, or the safe paths that you can go through, they're right next to the main road. And so you'll be on that path walking along, and there'll be troops right there. And you can obviously, they can see you at certain points, but for the most part, I just ran and rode my horse right on the blue trail, and I drove right by everyone, or rode right by everybody, and they didn't even notice me. So it's kind of cheesy. I was like, I mean, I guess it's cool because it does, like, if you want to engage, but you can take this path, but if you or you can take the road, but if you don't want to and you just want to, just beeline to your objective, I guess that's a solution, but why make it so populated? I mean, I was like, this is how populated it is. I was going down one of the trails, one of the blue trails, the safe trails, and below me there were some soldiers, and there was like 3 or 4 of them, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna mix it up. I want to see how the gunplay is and stuff. It was very early on, and so I engage with them. I go down and start firing off guns, and then I just kind of want to see how the AI reacts, and the AI seems to be okay. I mean, I guess I'm sure later in the game it might get more. It's going to get more tough and complicated. They're not going to just be cannon fodder, but I engage with them. Take them out, pick up the goods that they dropped, which is just basically like pesos or whatever they call it something, but it's money, currency. And I leave. I walked away, and kind of, because I saw someone was like a body of water, so I kind of walked over there, and then I turned around. And as I'm coming back, they had already respawned. Those characters that I engaged with were already there, and I was looking on my HUD because they have a little map that shows you where you are, and you can see where, and it lights up kind of like it's like red, but it's not like a red dot. It's more like a red splash of paint, so it kind of gives you an idea of where they are in an area, but it doesn't like pinpoint like little red dots, like have 3 enemies over here. And it lit up red on my HUD, and I turned around and they were already back. They had already respawned back into where they were, and so I engaged with them again, killed them. I did the same. I wanted to test it out, so I moved away again and just turned around and kind of just took like 10 paces, and then I started walking back, and there were already troops there again. So to me, that's just not a good design. I don't know. I don't think it's a good design. I'm cool with respawning characters. You have to have them. You have to have the NPCs, the enemies that you're going to fight. They have to be able to respawn. They have to, and that's okay. But the redundancy of that, where you can just sit there and farm it, like kill them, walk away, kill them, come back, and it just, yeah. So that part I thought was, it was kind of like, all right. So it kind of forces you to like take the goat paths, like the trails that are highlighted blue. It's like kind of, it almost, it's like incentivizes you, because it's like, well, I just want to get over here and do this mission. And there's checkpoints that you can take out. I took out a checkpoint on the road. There's like road checkpoints, and you take those out, and then the revolutionaries will take over, and then that checkpoint will be it'll be a friendly zone. You don't have to worry about enemies and stuff. But it wasn't like I just drove down the street and then there was already more bad guys. So yeah, we'll see how the AI reacts. So far, like I said, the spawning of the enemies is a little weird. They really just spawn up quick. So getting back to the story, just real quick, because I wrote a note, and actually I forgot that I wrote this. When they introduce you to a new character, I want to check something. My headset seems crooked for some reason. Maybe it's just my crooked head. Anyways, so when characters get introduced, so anybody that you meet that has a first and last name essentially, and they become a character that you're going to see, or an ally that you're going to work with, they do this sort of Suicide Squad 2 splash, like the screen cuts to like this animated scene, and it says their name, and again, it just conflicts with the tone of the game, because the tone is like oppression and fighting back, and fighting for freedom and liberty, and it sort of takes me out when I see it. I'm like, okay, either be serious or be goofy, pick a lane, and I'm cool with either one. But when they're kind of zigzagging back and forth, I'm kind of like, well, what is it? So it kind of loses me a little bit. But other than that, though, I think the game so far, I'm going to play some more of it. I'm going to dive into it. And like I said, I think I've unlocked Because every mission that you do, you unlock, like you get like a gun, you get a handgun, and then you get a rifle, and then you get two rifles, and you get three. Then you get like your special weapon that, what I unlocked was this, or what I saw was this, you get this, they call it the resolver, and it's sort of like a super, like a super weapon that you can break out. I'm sure it has like a cooldown or a limited amount of ammo, but it's like the one that I have, it's a backpack, and it has like five rockets, there's like little, I don't know if they're like, it's more like mortars. It looks like mortar barrels like on your back. And then you can fire them off and do major damage. So I've unlocked most of that stuff, unlocked the workbench, and I can see how the crafting is going to go. And you need resources to upgrade, to build, to get better sights, to get better grips, to get specialized ammo and stuff like that. So I kind of understand like where we're going with this. Now I just kind of want to dive in, get into a rhythm with these type of games. Usually you're either sticking with the story, which I'll probably do because I want to see where the story's going to go. So far, it's just sort of one note, but then there's just the exploration part of the game that I usually have a lot of fun with, because you can just come across a base or something and it's like, hey, there's something in there that I want. They have a cache of weapons, or there's some rare materials that I need for my crafting table. And you go out and you do all this stuff, and then you go back. You go out and you make a run basically, and you spend like 30 minutes. That's what I do anyways. I say you, but it's more like I'm just saying me. I'll take off and go for like 30 minutes and real time, and just mob and do all that stuff, have fun, just go crazy in the world, and then go back to my crafting bench, and then I'll check out my weapons that I've got and see what upgrades that I can add to my guns and stuff with the materials that I've collected. So that part, that's always fun for me. I always like that gameplay loop. It's fun. I just think this story, man, I'm just not feeling it so far. It started, like I said, that credit scene was cool, and it got me in right away. I was like, oh, this looks cool. I like this. And then it just sort of went like, it just, every scene after that, it was just kind of ratcheted down a little bit, the tension, and it became more of like, hey, this is Far Cry. Go out and have fun. Lead the revolution, blow the place up, overthrow the government, save the day. Okay, that's fine. It's like an 80s, Arnold Schwarzenegger or, Sylvester Stallone movie. It's kind of got that feel where there's not a lot of stakes. Doesn't feel like it anyways. But yeah, I think I'm going to keep playing this game for a little while. I think I'm going to, this weekend, I got some things to do this weekend, but, maybe one more night this week after work, I'm gonna dive in, spend a couple hours, cause I do want to see where the story is going to go, the characters that I've seen, oh, that's right. I wanted to say, so and I need to look this up, cause this guy, if I say who this is, even the normies are gonna know who he is. Have you ever seen Breaking Bad? It's the guy who plays Gus Fring, and he's made a big name for himself since Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad was kind of his big, he played Gus Fring, and his name, I'm gonna tear it up, and I apologize. Giancarlo Esposito. Giancarlo Esposito. He is the main baddie. He's the villain. And they do, games have evolved to that point where when you have an actor like that, it's no longer just a voice. Like, they have mocapped his face pretty well. Like, who it is. It's not like, wait, oh, I recognize that voice. Like, no, I recognize that face. I know you from movies. So, games have really come a long way in that regard. And it's cool to see him in that role, but I haven't seen anything that's going to make him really captivating. They sort of had the scene in the beginning where he gets to be, the bad guy, and he does a little monologuing, but it really was, like I said, it was such a contrast, like it started off that way where it seemed dark, and then a contrast where it just got cheesy, and kind of got goofy and lighthearted. Like, like I said, you have a crocodile. So you in this game, you can earn, or you unlock, they call them amigos. and they're basically like your little sidekick, and you can control them. You can tell them to attack people, or you can tell them to stay. And this is like an actual crocodile, a big old crocodile, and he takes off running, and you can say "sick 'em boy," and he just does it. Boom, he takes off. His name's Guapo. Which again, see, it's funny, it's lighthearted, and I'm cool with that. I'm cool with just now we're sort of in this sort of fun spot, but it just started off so differently. But I do want to see, I'd like to see some more of Gus. I don't know why. That's in my mind. That's what I think of when I see this guy. So I'm like, oh, it's Gus Fring from Breaking Bad. That's all I think of. So no disrespect to him, because he's a good actor. But yeah, I want to see some more of him. I'd like to see if maybe they do something special with him. Usually the bad guys in these games are pretty one note. So I hope he's more. But I will continue playing this game. But that's my early impressions so far. I like it. I need to dive into like the deep end of the pool now that I'm sort of turned loose into the story and I can run free and do whatever I want. I'm going to do that, have some fun with it. I don't know if I'm gonna beat this game. I just don't know. Far Cry 5, I started playing, and then I made the mistake of listening to some reviewers, and they actually spoiled some things for me. Not like story beats spoilers, like where they gave away like plot points, but in Far Cry 5, which I only played probably about 3 or 4 hours of, to be honest with you. But the villains, there's multiple villains in that game because it's a cult and you're taking out cult leaders. I guess like as you're playing that game, no matter where you were or what you were doing, they would just grab you, and then you would be forced into this sort of encounter or this part of the game. And it was like random, and it would happen throughout the whole game. And that's really not what Far Cry games really are. Usually those situations where they take you back into the story, it's usually because you have chosen to do a mission, and then that mission leads to the story and leads to these cutscenes, and character building and motivations or terrible things, whatever's going to go happen, or great things. Finally, you meet cool people and they have a funny story to tell you or whatever. But usually those are not, they're gated by you choosing to do those missions. And in Far Cry 5, it was very just random, and it really turned me off because I don't know, from what I understand, again, this is me just repeating what I heard, and this isn't a rumor. I know this is what happens, but you would just be doing your thing in the middle of a mission or something, or middle of taking out a base, and then you just finish it up and check your loot, and boom, they would just, one of the cult leaders would grab you up and then throw you into this whole other mission without any warning. So I hope they don't do that in this one. I really do. In this game, it's only set up where it's just it's the revolutionaries against Gus Fring and there's one guy that you kind of see as his right hand man. They always got to have a right hand man or right hand woman that's leading. That's the extension of the bad guy or the villain. So maybe there might be a boss battle with him, but so far it's just regular Far Cry, which I'm thankful for. But we will see for sure. But that's my opinion so far. I like it, and I would like to do a full review of this. So check back, in maybe a week. I know it's a little hard. I don't have the time to sit down and just smash this game in 5 or 6 sittings and just tell you and give you a nice clean review so that you can, help you make a decision. So that's why I figured I'll just do an impressions video just to kind of give you an idea what you're getting into. But if you like Far Cry, if you like those games, for the most part, this seems like another Far Cry game. And I haven't played one really since 4. That was the last one I really got on. That was a few years ago. So, but again, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you taking the time. If you liked what you heard, I would really appreciate it if you gave me a thumbs up. And you know what? If it sucked, give me a thumbs down. I can take it. It's all good. And if you please, if you did like what you heard, please subscribe. Share the videos with your friends. And I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks a lot. Bye.